you look around and there's the baddest girls and the baddest dudes are inside that chain link fence.
Their perspective, from what I've observed, is more about their peers than the fans. Of course they want to live for the fans and put on a big show, but I can see that these guys get hyped up. Somebody's going to pull a big deadlift and Dan Green's there watching them. They want to do better because Dan's watching them, or because they saw Pete do a certain number. They want to beat that. It's a little bit of ego, but not in a bad way. It's more in a competitive way, so they push themselves. There is definitely a tremendous amount of camaraderie in the sport of powerlifting, and in the cage in specific. You can see it when someone's about to do a big lift. All the other big name athletes come over and they help spot and they help load and they get involved and they hype them up. They want each other to do good. They're all rooting for each other. So for these athletes, the cage is a special experience. Many of them have told me that they really wanted to lift in the cage. When they finally got to do it, how much it meant to them, how much they've wanted to do it for years. I've had several people say, I wanted to get in here for years. They know that it's like the pinnacle of the sport, outside of competition, of course, but as far as an exhibition, and a high-profile exhibition, there's nothing like the cage, and there's nothing like the atmosphere. And what's cool to really hear is their perspective after the lift, right? They had this expectation going in. I always wanted to lift in the cage. And then I always ask them, did it live up to what you thought? Was it worse? Was it better? And they almost always say, it was much better than I expected. I couldn't have imagined the energy that was in there.
Let's go, Jordan. One.
You can run.
Two.
For a long time.
Come on, big dog.
Run on.
Let's go.
For a long time.
Get behind the folks. Let's go. Come on, Jordan. Finish it. All right, 2 reps. Give it up for Jordan Shallow, the muscle dog.
So it's a whole different ball game. I know all the lifters take pride in being able to do that. Like, on pretty much every powerlifter's bucket list, they want to lift in the cage at one time or another. So it's really a big deal for everybody, and you feed off the energy. You do better than you normally would.
I was actually talking to somebody earlier, and they were asking me about the cage, and I said, before I've been using animal products for 10 years or more. Before I really knew what animal really stood for, I was using the products. And when I started kind of doing my research on other lifters, I would see various years of the cage, and I'm like, what in the world is this? This is amazing. These guys are doing these lifts behind this fence, and there's all these people. And then I started getting into powerlifting, and I started really understanding, whoa, that's the pinnacle of powerlifting. Like, you can go to meets, you can go set world records, but this is something different. And of course that attracted me because I'm already using the products, and I'd open my can of Animal Pack vitamins, and I'd see Dan Green's card in there. And this is before I even knew who Dan Green was. I'm like, that's cool, they got their athletes in here. And just it blossomed with me from kind of another angle. And I've never been to the cage or any of the sports festivals at all. And when I started really taking a liking to powerlifting and getting into the sport, I started really looking at the videos and saying, oh, that would be cool to lift there. Like that, you know, what does it take, you know?
Yeah, I mean, I think the cage is just a really great example of how I think lifting as a whole is very much like a way of people uniting. Because I mean, lifting is kind of like a personal pursuit, and I think people get into it because they just like how it makes them feel, or they really just enjoy the personal kind of challenge, and they enjoy how it makes them feel or look afterwards when they're, the training starts to really like amount to something substantial. But just like how in a powerlifting meet, the whole point is everybody who trains comes and meets each other and meets up and has kind of a good time and a little competition, seeing who's the strongest and watching how everyone has gotten stronger from the last time. That part of it is great, and it's just like in the cage. I mean, we have a bunch of people, and in their own minds they all want to be the best, but I think we all really appreciate watching everyone else, especially some of the guys who just really, I should say some of the guys, but also now a lot of females who are, just really great at what they do. And so it's kind of like, it's a pretty like condensed, condensed place to just see a really like good yardstick of where the best lifting is at in powerlifting. So, yeah, I mean, I lifted 900 pounds last year in the cage, and I watched somebody do it twice this morning. This guy was like 23 years old, so he's got this great potential. So I think, you know, and there's another guy who there's a bunch of people now where it's like, it seems like there's so many people who are coming up and getting really strong.
STEFI Cohen's one that sticks out of my mind. STEFI's maybe pound for pound the strongest weightlifter, power lifter in the world.
5 years ago, 10 years ago, if you look around the cage, how many 5'2" girls were hanging off the chain link fence?
She weighs about 120 pounds. She pulled 545 for a PR last year. She's going to be squatting. And I've seen Steffi squat in her gym hybrid performance when we were there on a trip. And she's nasty at squatting too. So we are going to see something big.
495 back squat at 123 pounds. Like, I think a lot of people conflate powerlifters with athletes, and sometimes it's not a direct equivalency, but like Steph's an athlete. Like, you can see her, watch her squat 315 in the warm-ups, it's like 500, no problem, 495, 5 plates, easy.
So during the off-season, I worked really, really hard to build a stronger back so I could put more weight on my back in squats and upped my bench frequency and worked a ton on pressing movements so I can get my bench stronger. And I made a ton of progress, and I'm very proud of that. And I wanna show people that I'm not a one-trick pony, and that I can do more than just deadlifts and actually be really, really good at also squat and bench. I mean, the cage, I would say, is arguably the biggest event at the Arnold. Everyone gets really excited about it, almost more than the powerlifting section or the strongman section. People go to the Arnold to see the cage, to see people doing crazy stuff, it's the right word, in the cage. You know, just providing a platform for lifters like myself and other high-level lifters to lift in a environment that's not as stressful as a meet, as a full meet, where you don't have to cut weight, where you're not in front of judges, where you're not competing against people, but it's actually the complete opposite. You know, you have people around you wanting to make, everyone wants you to make the lift. No one wants you to fail.
Here we go! This is for everything! Let's go, Steph! Ronda! Here we go! Personal PR. That is the all-time world record at 123-pound body weight. Let's hear it one more time for Steffi Cohen. Every year she comes and she delivers.
Внутри больше спортсменов стало, больше придумываться всяких таких вот стало мероприятий силовых, там жимы, например, там тяги. И я считаю, что клетка самый привлекательный стенд на выставке. Она только в лучшую сторону меняется. Я, во-первых, очень рад, что я ездил. Во-вторых, люди, они не чужие. Я чувствую хорошую всегда атмосферу среди таких людей. А зал, скажи, я занимался в свое время там в разных залах, в каких только не занимался, и в подвалах в разных. Мне все равно, мне главное, чтобы было оборудование хорошее и все.
То есть
и атмосфера.
Нет, да? То есть все окей, нормально?
Нет, то, что стресса нет. Я готовлюсь сейчас к чемпионату Европы. В город Санкт-Петербург. Этот турнир будет проходить там. В моих тренировках, но я добавил объемы и добавил вспомогательные упражнения в первой половине тренировочной программы. В общем-то, больше ничего нового нет. Ну, Марианна очень талантливая спортсменка, амбициозная, бесстрашная. Ну, все в таких вот лучших традициях. И в борьбе себя проявляется очень хорошо. Ну, мы, во-первых, берем билеты, чтобы приезжать ночью. чтобы у нас сутки спалось. Потому что так легче перестраиваться в новый режим. И сейчас, вот скажи, я ложусь уже в 11, в 10, для того, чтобы полностью мой организм адаптировался. А там уж как получится.
Mariana went today. She completed a 583 squat in knee wraps at 132-pound body weight, which it was 33 pounds heavier than the male all-time record at 132 pounds. So there's no guy that's out squatted her. You can't not include the Julius Maddox, James Strickland bench off. These guys are the best raw benchers in the world at any weight class. Both Julius Maddox hit over 700 pounds, was 705 in the cage last year. It's the only 700-pound bench press we've ever had in the cage. It's only 700's only happened a few times in the world. James is still chasing it, or he's chasing the record. So I believe he's been very close. These guys are brutes. These numbers are going to be astronomical numbers that if you deadlifted it, it would be a world-class, not a world-class deadlift, but it would be a PR for many people if they deadlifted what these guys benched.
I was there when James got sponsored at Boss of Bosses. It's hands down one of my favorite powerlifters. Like bench over 6 and total over 2100 raw. Massive dude, super nice guy, and him and Julius were, I think, like raced to 700 on bench, which is like pretty obscene. Like I was sweating trying to pick that up off the floor, and they're holding it over their face. So watching those two is like, I mean, literally when you think of like just the knee-jerk reaction of like that guy's an animal. Like both of those two are just like prehistoric.
We don't actually. Well, he lives in Owensboro, Kentucky. I live in Houston, Texas. But we have the same coach, Josh Bryant, and so we follow similar methods as far as how we do things. I mean, he may not be on the same weight I am, and of course, different accessories and stuff. But we talk quite a bit, and I'm always chatting with him online. Just how's things going? How'd the meet go? How'd this go? He's pulling for me to push 700. I was pushing for him to get 700 and get the all-time record. And so it's a friendly competition. But at the end of the day, it's him versus me. It's like, let's see what happens. That's kind of cool.
Here we go, let's combine the 200-pound dumbbells. Let's go, Julius. Count it out with them. Yeah. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, come on, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. James, let's go. Come on, let's go. Here we go, let's go, everybody, let's get them on. 1, here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, drive, up, 13, 14, keep going, 15, inside and outside, Joe Sullivan warming up. He's got 605 on the bar. We're using a transformer bar here. Joe had a torn bicep, which he recently had surgery on. 7 weeks ago, he had surgery on a torn bicep, so that's why we're using this bar. It looks like a regular safety squat bar, but you could load the weights in different angles.
I'm excited to see CC deadlift. I want to see, especially because she's a direct competitor, so I just want to see. She doesn't post her training at all. So I'm excited to see what she can do or where her deadlift is at.
They mentioned this lady, CC Holcomb, who's an up-and-coming world-class powerlifter. I didn't know anything about her. I knew that she could deadlift quite a lot. But for one, seeing her in person, she can easily be a physique competitor. You know, in terms of a bodybuilder, women's physique competitor. She had the physical features to do so. But watching her warm up with 405, 495, it was like seeing a child play with it. It's like seeing a lion toy with like a mouse before he ate it. And then she said that she was going to do 600, which in and of itself would have been an insane lift for somebody, you know, for a female, but let alone anybody. If anybody can deadlift 600 pounds, that's pretty impressive. But to see a female do it is even greater. Not only did she top that, she drilled it for 4 reps. I don't think her spotter, the gentlemen that were helping her, knew that she was going to go for it. She just kept going. And as every rep hit, the crowd got louder. It was one of my favorite of today.
Your turn.
The other one that was show-stopping was, of course, Brandon Perdue and Jason Mike. It's Brandon's 3rd year, Jason's 2nd year being in the cage. And Brandon has been there as long as I've been emceeing, so his first year was my first year emceeing. Brandon's a huge bencher. He's benched 600 pounds at 220. He's repped 200-pound dumbbells, I think it was for 20 reps at one point last year. So they did a 500-pound bench off, head-to-head, and every year that they do this, you know, when Rob Hall did it with the deadlift, I said, they'll do 20 reps. They'll do 10, because I figure, like, just logically, it always far exceeds that. They did 31 and 30 reps of 500-pound bench press. We over-exceeded the time, and, you know, into the next exhibition, but it was well worth it. It's stuff like that starts off a little slow, because it's 1 rep, you sit down, 1 rep, you sit down. But when you start getting into the 20s and the 30s for reps and sets, the crowd comes alive. We start going, well, who's going to become really interested in who's the first guy who's going to fail? And that was a big one.
Nice shine. Nice shine. Just because I can't stand you, put my shit on drinks. Like you busting grapes. Think you hold the weight, then you haven't met the apes.
Andrew Herbert is one of the best squatters in the world. He is going to be doing 700-pound AMRAP, that's as many reps as you can, as many reps as possible, and at 700 pounds, and then he plans on deadlifting 700 right after that. This guy's a pure savage.
This is obviously a pretty unique type of lifting event, in the sense that I pretty much never deadlift and squat even on the same day, much less back to back, much less, as many reps as possible, attempt with fairly heavy weight.
Andrew, Herbert, it's never normal. Like I've trained around Andrew for 3 years, 4 years out of Boss Barbell, him and Dan. That's like, you see these guys day in, day out, and you think at some point you'd be like, okay, I'm used to this. You're never used to it. And even standing next to these guys, you're like, what are you? You know what I mean? So I think he went 6 and 6 at 700 pounds. So it's 6 reps in sleeves. Last year he did 13 reps in wraps, 700 squat, and then jumped straight to 700 pound deadlift for 6. So it's like, I did 700 for 2. This guy squats 700 for 6, and then deadlift 700 for 6. So he's just like, he's on another level. So watching Andrew's always fun, just because like everyone just sees that. Like everyone just sees the expo lift, but like I see the Friday night at 9 o'clock when Andrew gets in off shift, and then trains for well into the late at night when no one's around, and he's not on Instagram. Like he's on Instagram, but he's not like posting every rep, every set. Every now and then he just shows up and just kind of reminds people like what he does. So it's always cool for me to see Andrew, because like you see the work that goes into it, which is really cool. Where most people are like, every rep, every set is on the internet. Andrew's too busy working. So he's someone I like definitely look up to. And then to watch him and be friends with him and then see him show up and do that, like, just blows people's minds.
You're gonna see history go down right here with Grand Higa. Special guest MC, Big Moore. That's worth the price of admission alone.
Yeah, anytime you get to watch Grant lift, he's just, again, just the passion. Like you see him train, like he just goes somewhere else. And then he got something like, you can see it, like, for anyone who lifts in the cage, like before the bar is off the ground or off the rack, it's like, oh fuck, like there's something just not right. And like I know where I got to go in my head to do some of the stuff I do. So like with Grant especially, you just see him, like it's so fired up.
And definitely looking forward to Grant Higa going for Tom Platz's record on Sunday. I know how much it means to him. I know how much he puts into it. There's not a guy out there, I mean, they all put in their heart, but this guy puts everything into it.
This will be my 9th year lifting an animal pack cage. Every year is pretty unique. You always try to do something, like extraordinary and awesome, but I think this year is going to be the toughest mountain to climb. I want to make this record mine, where remember the time when Grant Higa squatted 505 on his back in the animal pack cage. I want this to be, yes, the Higa squat record for reps. Hell yeah, he was in the cage. He was almost 50 years old when he did it.
If you don't want that. Come on.
Well, what I learned from the event was that I have a mental toughness that's far beyond most people, especially most average people, for one. And I put everything in motion that I talk about and I believe in, about putting everything out there and then giving everything you have. I literally gave everything I had. Like, if anything, if he was still going, I was gonna keep going until I kept getting told that I was gonna lose, he was so much better, he deserved it more, and all this stuff for a whole week. And it just sat in my head and was like, there's no way, I can't, I'm not gonna lose. I have too much pride to just let him just win. So I gave everything I had, and essentially what I learned from that here is to not do that again. I know where my limits are at, specifically when it comes to something like that, and there's no need to actually try to do something that and imitate that again. I definitely would do it if I had to do it over. I definitely would do it, but a second time, probably not. Just detouring what I was wanting to do in my actual plans. So just learn to hold back just a tad bit. You don't have to go full blown all the time, something like that. But essentially that definitely showed me that I had a mental toughness here that to endure a lot of things here for a good amount of time. So pretty happy about that.
It's money time, Stacy. It's money time. Get that money. Come on, Stacy. You told me you're putting on a show. Let's see it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. Let's get it open! Come on! 15 if you lock it! One more, let's go! Come on, lock it out, Stacy, let's go! Come on, all right, 16 reps, Stacy, in the house, 16 reps for 225 after competing yesterday. Give it up.
So this is my 6th year doing the animal cage. I've been here so many times I can barely remember all the times I've done it. I'm gonna do a max, but I don't know for sure how much it's gonna be. I'm hoping like 850 pounds, but training's been going really well. I've been trying to take things slower as far as like building the best base possible, because I think a lot of times people are all about making the fastest gains, but it's not sustainable. I've seen a lot of people in powerlifting come and go, and it's like I pride myself on that longevity of having been here for so many years.
Come on. Come on. Yeah.
So the cage it's unlike anything else. I mean, because in a literal sense, I mean, you never actually, as a human being, in a cage of that size. And so, but then within the overall atmosphere of the Arnold, it's, you got, I don't know, hundreds of booths out there, hundreds of different companies and things going on. But there's one cage, and you can see it from pretty much anywhere in the convention center, and it stands out. And the people who are in the know, people who have been here before, or know about powerlifting, bodybuilding, and things like that, and have known about it for years, the cage is a unique environment. And you've got all the animal athletes together, as well as other guest athletes. We're all pretty tight, and so there's just a ton of energy. Everyone's supporting everybody else, loading plates, spotting, helping, wrap knees, everything like that. And there's a lot of great things going on at the Arnold, but you don't see that anywhere else. I don't think. And so, camaraderie is probably, if I had to say one word to summarize the cage, it would be that. We're from all over the country and all over the world, so it's very rare that I get to see these people, and so it's pretty special when we can all come together in one place and just do what we love. Because each of us has our individual strengths, our individual passions, and our individual lives, but we want everyone else to succeed too. We want everybody to essentially be victorious in the cage, and we group together in pursuit of that.